Don't talk to people. Don't get anyone's purse. If you talk to people and I think he said I shouldn't talk to people. So if they pan out to be drug dealers, they won't arrest me. You know, because when they look at the camera, they'll be like, "Oh, she was talking to." Them. So I didn't want to talk to anyone. So I kind of was semi-mute. You know, I was like.
If you're an international student or an aspiring international student, like, you can definitely identify with the fear, confusion, uncertainty, and everything that comes with the process of trying to become an international student. Now, for some of us, it's been a longer time than others. For some people, they just got here and it's fresh, but the point is we are all in the same boat, right? And like, just thinking back to my own journey personally, like, I can still remember those times that I felt so confused and didn't know who to ask questions, or the people that were around me were just like me, like just trying to figure it out too. And I wish that there was somebody who was kind of ahead of the process, who could tell me what they went through or what I should do or what to keep in mind and things like that. This and many other things inspired me to start Winie Student World, which my dream is to be a place where international students and professionals can come together and feel like a community and learn from each other and just kind of like our own thing, right? So anyway, one of the things that I have been thinking about doing for a long time is to start telling the stories of other international students other than myself, right? Tips and videos and clips here and there of me talking, they're wonderful. You've told me that and I appreciate it. But I think even better will be to hear how different people have experienced this process and what they've been through to, you know, get to where they are. And so there's going to be multiple series on this, right? Like, I wish you could kind of come into my head and see all that I have planned. But this first one that we're starting is the journey to F1. So that is the journey to becoming an international student in the US. The student visa is called F1 visa. And I am excited. Yep, you've heard me say that all the time, but I am truly excited for the people that you're going to be meeting through this journey. So now the videos are long. I don't know what to tell you. The videos are long because they are just that juicy. Okay, so this is one of the videos where you want to like keep for like when you're gonna eat, or keep for when you have like a chill time and you just want to like listen to me and somebody else talk about what the process has been like to get to where they are. So if you do like these kinds of videos, right, the only way for me to know is if you like, comment, subscribe, and share. That's the only way that I get to know that, okay, this is something that you want to see often. So please let me know what you think by doing any of those things. Right. Okay. Our first guest, listen. When I started this whole online, journey a few years ago, I mean, I was hoping for the best, but I think the best part for me has been meeting the people that I have met online. Like, I have met people who have become good friends just through doing Winie Student World. And Abimbola, or Abbie, as a lot of people call her in the US, is one of those people. I am so excited for just you meeting her. Like, seriously, just you getting to know her. Like, she is, you see what I mean? You like her too. I promise. So don't go anywhere. Get your favorite drink and relax and, enjoy this. All right. So, Abimbola, tell us about yourself. What do you want internet friends to know about you? And, just kind of just tell us.
Okay, awesome. So, internet friends, this is true. I feel like this is just the age to have internet friends, and it's cool. So, my name is Abbie. My full name is Abimbola Iyun. But of course, which is another conversation. When I arrived here, people like Abimbola, Abbie. I'm like, it's cool, Abbie, Ola, however you want to go. So, people call me Abbie, and I kind of like it. I'm from Nigeria. I lived most of my years in Ibadan, Nigeria, but I also spent some time, like my background, most of my extended family members are from Lagos. So yay, so Lagos. I went to school in Nigeria, of course. I did high school, so we call it secondary school, of course. Went to secondary school in Nigeria, university in Ibadan, University of Ibadan. So I studied communications and language arts. Communication and language arts. My professors will not be proud of me with the way I just pronounced that. Communication and language arts at the University of Ibadan, Faculty of Arts, shout out. And then after that, I did came for my master's in the US at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and then my PhD, which I'm about to complete.
Woo! Yeah. Oh my goodness, I did not know you were in a PhD program, like for real.
Oh yeah. In a PhD program, it's been a good experience actually. It's true. There's so much to reflect on because I'm also teaching my own class, and I've been doing that for about 3 to 4 years. So basically, pretty much for the period of time I've been in the PhD program, which is awesome. Like that's just a great thing if you're getting into grad school that you want to do. And I'm working on my dissertation right now, so writing and also just trying to remember that there's life after school, so I have to be developing other skills in as much as I'm writing my dissertation as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, you already inspire me. First of all, one of the things I like about you is that you like movies. I love movies, and it's like once I found out that you like movies, I'm like, we're gonna be friends. We are going to be friends for a long time. That's just the way this is gonna play out. So I'm just so happy. Okay, let's just dive into the meat of this, right? So at what point did you start thinking about studying in the US? What was that thought process or experience for you?
Wow, this is great actually. So I never thought that I was gonna get a graduate degree. Never. I thought I wanted to just get out of school and be a CEO, like, just fly into, the business world and like just be a CEO on day one. But now I know, there are steps to these things. So when I got out of UI with my degree in communication and language arts, I started working with an NGO, with a nonprofit, Jumpstart Academy. And it was at Jumpstart Academy that I decided to get a master's in professional media and media management. So, yeah, I love convening, like bringing people together, like organizing events and doing intellectual stuff, like anything, creativity, innovation, films, social change, bring people together. I'm your person, right? So in Jumpstart, I was doing some of that. We had matriculation for the scholars that we're working with. It's an after school program for kids in low income areas. So we have like leadership programs for them. We also have academic programs for them. So there I was like the program manager, that kind of job role. And it was there I was like, you know what? It will be good to have a degree since I have a degree in communications, just cap that up with management, right? And it's going to be a good plus. So that was how I started this journey. So the plan was just to get a master's. There wasn't any PhD. So you can see how things just keep evolving, right? It was just get a master's, come back to Nigeria, again, own your nonprofit, start doing stuff, right? And I'm not gonna jump because I know you probably have another follow-up question, but so it was from there, right, that I decided to pursue a master's in mass communications and media arts. Yeah.
Wow. Just to kind of throw this in there, like we both know the person who founded Jumpstart Academy, right? And this world is such a small place. Do you know that I didn't know that you knew Tola until her mentioned that she helped you out with one application, kind of casually. She just mentioned, Abbie, and I did back up, like, who? Is it the same Abimbola that I know? And it's such a small world. Like Tola she is a superhuman in like a human.
She's a powerhouse.
She is just she's amazing. Like I feel like I always gush and awe about her. Like she is really, truly amazing. And she's done so many good things, like Jumpstart Academy, the funding magnet right now, like, and she just loves helping people. Like, I don't know how someone can be just that good of a human being. But yeah, I just thought, like, anytime women are doing stuff together, like we all are, like, I am all for let us lift each other up. And so that's really exciting that it's a small world, just small world. That's all I can say. All right. So now, when you did decide, right, what exams did you take, or maybe even more broadly, what steps did you take once you came to that decision?
So, thank you for asking. It's good to actually reflect on the whole process, because I think we kind of forget when we get to the US and people text us questions. We're like, duh, you do this. I'm just keeping it real, right? And then when you reflect, you figure out, you remember that the process was, I don't know, not tedious, but just at that point it was its own god of its own. Like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? So first thing, good for me, my department was only requiring TOEFL. So the schools I was going to were requiring just TOEFL, because I started out with a Master's of Science, which is different from a Master's of Arts if you want to go into academia. So I started with a Master's of Science. So they were like, oh, you just need to know how to speak English. So they were like, write TOEFL. My department requires that you have 100. At least 100, which is kind of, you know, some people say, oh, that's kind of high, but because we're in media and communications, you have to. So 100. So I didn't have to write GRE at that point. Later in my journey, I had to write GRE, and then I had to pay the survey fee. I had to fill out an application, so write a personal statement, biographical statement, a writing sample, all of those things, right? And again, these are things we can dig into. It may look impossible, but trust me, you have everything you need. You just need to know how to brand yourself. What else did I do? Gosh, yeah. So TOEFL, survey. Oh, of course, apply for a visa. Like, literally go online and, you know, I'm not going to be sarcastic, but apply to the embassy, apply for a visa. Then, fortunately for me, I already had a passport. You know, that's another thing that people also fall into, like, oh my god, I also don't have the passport. I'm getting a passport in Nigeria. I don't know about now, but at that point, it was just like you're applying to be the president or something. But before then, I already had a passport, so that was easy. Didn't have to bother about that. Then financial statement. I had to get a financial statement to prove to my school that, you know, I'm okay, I can take care of myself, right? It did, when I came here, of course, I still, I got a assistantship from the school, but as at that point, I had to find a financial statement, so I just had to find out someone who had proof of funds, that in case I run into trouble or something in the US, they can be my guarantor, they can be my financial sponsor, and I took this with me when I went for the visa interview. So those are some of the things. I'm sure there's more, but those were some of the big things I was like, oh, need to get this, need to get that, you know.
Wow. And so, like, now this process for me, it was very different, because I came here right after secondary school or high school, and I mean, my dad, I owe everything to him. Like, he was very knowledgeable about the process, and he kind of just made it a breeze for me. But I know that that's very different when you're doing it yourself. So, like, how did you find out about this requirements? And, like, did you know somebody already in the US who walked you through it? Was this like a you and Google against the world thing? Like, how did you really go about knowing what to do and how to start and how to go about everything?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Actually, it's a different process when you're doing that by yourself, and if you're doing that by yourself, hey, I understand how it is. So my school, one good thing you should keep in mind is a lot of schools here, especially SIU, I'm just shout out to Southern University, very good with emails, right? So I was able to contact the departmental administrative aide, which was what the position was called at that point, and I just kept asking them questions. Later on, just spoiler, if this was a movie, I ended up working in that office actually with that person, and we have a great relationship. Now she's my like senior friend. But at that point, her name is Georgia Norman, amazing human being. So I kept emailing her, and she would like clarify all my questions about the requirements, TOEFL, this, that. For the visa application, like the financial statement also, yeah. So all of that was on the website, my department's website. So all the requirements were there. The financial statement, I can't remember exactly how I knew about that. I think people just told me, maybe someone in church, right? So good community, like, hey, you're gonna need to present this. And I think SIU also makes it a thing, like you have to show proof of funding. So visa, SIU, I was like, okay, I have to do this. TOEFL, my department told me that. Survey, so there was also someone in my church also who kind of knew about paying the whole survey fee. He had someone outside of Nigeria who had an account who could pay for it, because I think you have to have a specific account or something. So he was the one who helped me with that. So my thing will be, even if you're doing this by yourself, reach out to people. Not just reach out to people you trust, right? People who care about you, who are going at this point. Funny story about my financial statement, and I'm gonna try not to make this too long, but my mom reached out to her cousin, who reached out to someone else who was gonna give me like his financial statement and all that. That didn't work. So it was someone else in my church who actually did that, right? So just reach out to people you respect in your community, who you trust, right? Even if they cannot help. Because not everyone around immediately could, but if they cannot help, they're going to link you up to someone who understands that process and who will be willing to help you. So I'm just grateful to church people, family, Georgia Norman, helps me through that process.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Like, I mean, my dad says that in life, you find out that the people who help you through like important things end up being friends. Like, it's funny, it's not even like blood relatives or family members, like, and so that's why, like, in my adult life, I'm very intentional about cultivating friendships, because it's like you just never know when it's gonna really come in handy. Wow. But yeah, talk about how did you go about getting your transcript, especially the official one from your undergraduate institution to the schools that you were applying to, like, how did you go about that process and getting recommendation letters? Like, what was that experience like for you?
So recommendation letters, great. Again, shout out to the Department of Communication and Language Arts, University of Ibadan, Dr. Yinka Egbohare. We call her Auntie Yinka. Amazing. She actually she comes to Southern Illinois University, or Edwardsville, for her sabbatical. So she was very familiar with the process. I was a student in class. Well, I kind of probably was a good student. I played a lot in school, but I was a good student too, and she knew that. So she wrote me a recommendation. She wrote me a little recommendation. Also, Dr. Bisi Olawi, who at that time was the assistant dean of the faculty, also one of my professors, wrote me a letter of recommendation. I can't remember the third person. I think it was Faith Abiodun, who is also a mutual friend of Tola and I. Tola and I also know Faith. I think it was Faith. I'm not sure. So Faith also, I volunteered with the Faith Initiative, right? I was the outreach coordinator. So he wrote me a letter of recommendation, I think, based on that. So good to just, hey, go to professors who know you, people who know like how credible you are and are willing to even have an extra phone call or write that extra email if need be, right? So transcript process was, and I don't want to put my school under the bus, and so I'm gonna say this carefully. I think it could have been easier, right? But I think it took a week or 3 days, but that's the fear, the anticipation of, oh, you may not get it today, you just may not get it today, or all of those things. And I was like, had to pray. I'm sure I was praying or something. But I ended up getting it. I can't remember again. Probably was like 3 days or maybe 2, but I doubt it. And it was just, you have to fill the form, come back, all of that stuff. So if you know when you plan to leave Nigeria or whatever, plan ahead. Okay, if you can plan 2 months ahead, please do that, because you don't know. Someone told me that he was applying for something else and it took him more than a year to get his transcript. Okay, so it could be better. That's the word I'm gonna use. So from your end, I mean, with the power that you have, try to plan ahead. Another thing you can do, talk to people. So when I got there, look, sometimes I'm introverted or an ambivert, whatever, how these things work, right? But when need be, look, you learn to open your mouth. So when I got there, I saw the people working there, you know, just strike a conversation with them, you know, be nice, especially when they know you're coming to the US. They're like chatty, you know. Someone was like, hey, what are you gonna bring for me? I was like, sure, you know, we'll talk about this. And I was like, I haven't sent them anything, but you know, just chat with them, you know, don't just isolate yourself when you get there, so they can see, they can understand, because they're human, right? They can understand the urgency of your situation, right? I don't know, ask them about their family, something, try to build a connection, because usually that helps. They can even step in for you and say, hey, that girl needs to travel, she has an interview at the embassy next week, let's help her make this process faster. So that was that's one of the things that kind of helped too. Yeah,
that is really, really helpful advice.
Yeah.
And so the recommendation is just start early. Like I tell people who reach out to me, which shout out, Winie Student World gives you advice on how to do this application stuff. So if you're interested, you could email or message at any time. But I tell people, like, start, that is in the morning. Like the moment you have decided that you want to travel to the US or to anywhere to study, like that is when you should start requesting the transcript, so that no matter, even if it's going to go by snail mail, right, like when you actually need it to be out there, like it will be out. Because just like you mentioned, like it could be an easy, straightforward process, but if it's not, you want to make sure that time is on your hands. So exactly. Wow, thank you, Abbie. All right, let's keep it moving. Now, just a couple of more questions about your exam experience before we kind of continue. Now, you mentioned you took only the TOEFL, right? How did you go about like registering and preparing for the exam? Because it's completely different when you're doing that outside the US. And what was your experience taking it?
So TOEFL, I registered. So at the time I was living most of my life I lived in Ibadan. So I was living in Ibadan. I had to go to Lagos, which wasn't too far away, so the traveling wasn't a problem. And again, most of my family members, extended family members, are in Lagos, so that was easy. I registered for TOEFL. Not, you shouldn't do this, okay? But I registered for it maybe like, I had 3 weeks, 4 if I was being good, to prepare for the exam. So I knew I didn't have time. I mean, this is happening to you, look, I've been there. So what I had to do for the preparation phase is, of course, practice questions. I timed myself. I'm not sure how often people do this, but time yourself, time your responses. And then I recorded myself a lot. Right, so I just locked myself in my parents' bedroom. My parents' bedroom had this special closet in it, which I could just stay. So I stayed there with all the practice questions, my timer, used my phone to time, and then recorded myself on my phone, listened to myself talking. So am I speaking clearly, right? So this was one of the things. I didn't have to buy any questions. I just looked at the requirements, like TOEFL requirements. They have to hear you speak clearly. So I recorded myself, listened to myself. Then also the structure of writing, right? Every sentence, every paragraph you're writing has to have like a beginning, middle, and end. You should have a frame. So whatever question they're asking you, you should have an example you're using, a topic, sentence, and a conclusion. Easy. Honestly, topic, sentence, example, conclusion. And that was the format I used when I was practicing. So I think I prepared for it in 2 weeks. And I'm not saying this out of pride. It was because I didn't have any other choice, right? And then I went to Lagos, took it at a test center. One of the things people have talked about a lot is microphone. Is your microphone clear? Can they hear you? So fortunately for me, my microphone was working. I was a little bit nervous because there were so many of us, like, so there were so many people talking past me. So what I tried to do is I tried to zoom them out, just try to cut them off. And I projected my voice. I was like, it's me and this mic today, you know. So if you want to practice doing that, like if you want to practice at home, just play background music, because that could be a challenge, right? Play background music or something and try to zoom it out and talk to your phone, because I didn't have a choice at that point. I had to do that. Then also practicing listening, especially if you're not familiar with foreign accents, it's okay, where that's fine too. So I just practice listening to what the in the test questions, what they're saying, and I'm like, okay, these are the requirements, this is how they want me to respond, and all that stuff. So the exam was pretty smooth. It was just that speaking part of it, like, oh my god, wait, first of all, you have to get that thing out of your head that other people are listening to you. Nobody cares. Everyone is talking to their computer. And then, try to zoom out the other voices and speak into your microphone. This happens even in the US when you're taking GRE or whatever. People are like, oh, my mic wasn't working, or I wasn't close enough to my mic or whatever. Make sure you take that part out. Yeah. So what else? I think that was pretty much it for TOEFL. It was just consistent practice with words, writing, understanding how they want you to answer the question, not how you want to answer the question, and giving that to them.
So the next question is, and so we've talked about school, and I don't know if you kind of mentioned this already, but how did you really know about your school and that they provided funding?
Okay. So this was Google and me, and of course, seeking for counsel, from people around me, my parents, just praying through it, of course, because I'm a Christian, I'm a spiritual person. So yeah, I Googled also like schools with high ratings for for their media program. So I wanted to go to a good school, but my friend and I have this joke. So I have a friend, I'm not gonna mention her name because she may watch this, but every time she talks about common school, she's like, I want to go to Harvard, and we laugh, and I'm like, you can't go to I believe this is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but from where I was like, okay, I want a good school with good ratings. But I also want a school that I know I have chances to get into at this point. And I know people who've got into Harvard. So again, I'm not saying this. It's just a joke between my friend and I. So I looked at that. So I looked at various lists. And one of the schools that kept coming up was Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. So of course it was my, first choice to apply to. Later on, and this was far later on, I did apply to American University. And I'm still going to go there someday, either to teach or something, and be like, you didn't take me. But SIU was really my focus. And it was, I don't want to say it was a gamble, but this was a lot of faith in it, right? Because people are like, oh my god, you didn't apply to 5-6 schools. No, I focused on SIU. There were 1 or 2 schools I was kind of maybe wanted to look into, but SIU was the school I wanted to focus on. Why? Because they had a good media program. They responded to emails, right? So that's another thing you want to look into. It's also a prediction of the kind of environment you're going to get into, even though I really didn't know that at that point. But I was just like, hey, they're responding to my emails. They have a good media program. And I also looked at the professors here and all of that. So I did a lot of research, just looking at Carbondale also as a whole. So went there, so applied to SIU, and then followed up, by talking to people in the school. That was how I found out about it, honestly. And the good thing is it turned out to be good, because when I came here, before all of this stuff, COVID and all that started going on, when I would go to conferences, right, when you say you're from SIU, the media program, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, do you know this person, do you know that person? I'm like, okay, so the things I read about are true. So you want to look at a school that's good. So there's this thing about a school as a whole having a good image, a good accreditation, but then how about your program, right? So SIU has a good media program or good media rating, right? So you want to be able to check into that, look at the rating. Then the funding part of it, at the time I applied, I didn't know I was going to get funding, so I thought I was going to have to look for funding outside of the department. I wasn't even sure how it was going to work, right? So another thing is just start. Research, do your research, but also just get the process going. That's kind of like my 2020 mantra also. Get the process going and continue to figure it out. So I wasn't sure, but I had that feeling, okay, I may have to work outside of my department if my department doesn't give me funding, right? So I actually got my funding when I got here, told them about my experiences with Jumpstart and this and that. And they're like, okay, good. You're going to make a good program office person, and so that was how I got the funding. But all I just knew is, look, I have skills, man. I got skills. I have skills. I also started, this is a good one. I started looking into grants and fellowships. So there was this society, so it's not a sorority, it's like a society for black intellectuals or something. I think it's based in Chicago. So before I left Ibadan, I got a transcript because I was going to send my application because they wanted a sealed transcript. So I got a sealed transcript. So plan was, when I get here, gonna send it over to them. My family, I have family in Chicago, send it over to them. And so even if I don't get an assistantship, I can get a fellowship from them that's going to cover my fees. So that was something else I looked into also. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. That had to be wow. Like, I'm just kind of thinking, coming to the US thinking I'm going to pay my way through, and then you get here and then you realize that you're going to get funded. That's a miracle.
That was a miracle. I was excited. I didn't believe it. And, talk to the right people. And looking back, did I know who the right people were? I'm not sure, but I just would follow my connection, and God brought people to my way, because I remember coming on the train to SIU and I was super nervous. I was like, I don't have funding yet. I was anxious. I was like, what am I doing? This is not going to be good. All this and the lady who sat next to me on the train was I think a Fulbright scholar, but she was also teaching, or also a professor, and she calmed me down. This woman didn't know me from day one, never met me, no connection, no familial connection or anything. And she made me so calm. She was like, don't worry. She made me look casual, like you're gonna get funding. I'm like, ma'am, she's like, you're gonna get funding, don't worry. And that really helped me. I was like, I'm gonna get funding, don't worry. So she told me to also get on the university side. So I started writing out positions. I was like, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. So yeah, just being proactive, talking to people. There were also negative people. Yeah, there were people who were like, what? How can you come here with no funding? They told me, your school is going to, when you get your job, all your money is going to go back to paying for your fees. This is not going to, yes, on my arrival into the US, this is true. But thank God that I still met the right people who told me, we've been here. This is what they say, all those quotes, where they say, talk to people who've walked your experience, right? Listen to their advice. Don't listen to people who haven't worked in your shoes or understand, because sometimes people don't understand how the system works, so they're speaking from that, So yeah, that's not like they mean to be negative, but they don't know, so what are they going to tell you, right? Yeah.
Wow. I'm speechless. I completely am speechless. Like, I think I didn't know you were going to be teaching me about faith today. So just I really, really admire your journey. Okay. So let's dive into the visa application process, which I think when it comes to becoming an international student, that's the one part that the uncertainty outweighs the certainty. That's the way I see it. Like the other steps, like you could do certain things and get certain results, yeah, to a certain extent. But man, once you walk into that embassy that day, which at least for me, my heart was inside my stomach right there. Like it's almost like the words that are coming out of this one person's mouth, all your dreams and hopes about going to study or further your education just depends on like how one person views you in 3 to 5 minutes, if at all. So,
it is something.
Yeah, it truly is. So what was your experience of applying for the visa, and then talk about your interview? Like what did that look like?
So visas and immigration in general is one of the anxious topics for me. I totally get it. So my experience, I try to make sure I had all my documentation. I can remember this. Got there, got in line, got in line to go into the embassy. There were a lot of people. I had my stuff. I was holding all my paper. Then different people come at you. So I had people who gave me information, like, don't just give your paper to anyone, because different people will come at you when you're outside, like, trying to help you photocopy stuff, copy stuff, or just asking you questions, trying to sell you things. Just look. Get everything you need, whatever extra copies, whatever, get it before you get there. That's not the place where you want to start trading stuff, right? So I kept everything. Don't mind me, I didn't hold it this way, but kept it. Got into the embassy, and of course there was this rude lady. I'm gonna write a paper about this sometime. There was this rude lady who was just like yelling commands at everybody, but she was doing her job. I have empathy, I understand. But he made it more intense, right? And she was like, if you're F1, J1, this go to this side, go to that side, right? And I saw people dressed up. Some people were dressed as like princes, because you're looking for what's my unique selling point that's gonna make me look like a real person, that I should get a visa and all that stuff. So I dressed, professionally. I was wearing a professional gown, and I was nervous. Straight up tell you that, honestly. Then we went up, finally got there. Now the questions, right? Oh my god, this process, they don't even look, some people don't even look up at you, which can be very destabilizing. I think we need to revamp that whole process, treat people like human beings. But we're humans, and we pay for this. So but I think he looked up at me, but I'm not even sure. But I think I got a pretty okay, kind of nice person. So he asked me, why are you traveling to the US? So I've seen, Winie, you've talked about this, having strong ties to Nigeria, to your home country. At this point, I didn't even understand what's his strong. I did not know. I just told him, I talked about my social change thing. Like, look, I've worked at, JSA, I'm interested in social change. I want to help my country. So I'm traveling so I can gather the skills to do that. And I can't remember if someone told me this. It's possible someone may have, told me, hey, you should talk about this. I can't remember. But this is what I said, right? And hey, it also may just have been God talking through me. But I was like, and I could say this because I really am passionate about this, So it was like, what kind of skills? Follow-up question. So if you lie, that's where you freeze. So don't lie. So follow-up question, I was just going off of, girl, I'm going to harvest all my goals and dreams and give it to this guy right now. So I talked about, did I say video production? Just like production, I want to have conferences. I was really selling myself, like the dreams I've had in my room. I was telling it to this person, right? And it was like, okay, so so that I connected that to my degree in media, right? How that's going to be relevant to coming back to help people in Nigeria and stuff like that. Then I think he asked for my financial statement. I'm not sure. It's been 6 years. I think he did, but I had it with me. What other question? Yeah, pretty much the question. What I remember he really quizzed me about is, why are you going? Right? And I remember I said, I want to gather skills. I want to be, useful, right? I'm not even sure I said it clearly said I was going to come back to Nigeria, but I made it clear that I was going to have this, interaction with building entrepreneurs and all of that stuff, right? Yeah, and then he asked for my passport. And it's like, yeah, so you can go here and get it. And I was like, oh. And there was another girl who came in with me. I remember seeing her outside. And I was thinking about this recently. And she didn't get a visa. And it was sad. Yeah. So just an intense experience. But yeah, don't lie. Really pick something you're passionate about. So when they ask you follow-up questions, you can really go from here, right, and answer it. I think they can sense your sincerity, right? Why you're traveling, what you want to do, and yeah, pretty much. And hey, again, favor, So that was it.
Yeah, I have heard, and I mean, this video is not long enough for me to talk about like my experiences going to the embassy, right? Aside my previous denials before the time that I got it, just witnessing how that process pans out for people. And I would corroborate what you're saying, at least as someone who has gone to the embassy in Nigeria and in Canada multiple times. the way they treat us in African countries, well, the way they treat us in Nigeria, at least that I know of, and people's experiences that I've heard, I don't know what the deal is. Like, I don't buy that whole dehumanizing, like not looking at people. It's such a nerve-wracking and just such a yucky feeling. Like, whether they end up granting the visa or not, they could treat us better in that process. I don't know if that's a what's it called, a strategy for the process, for the visa process, or like I don't know what it is, but I just know that like it's something that I have thought about. Like, okay, like we are not powerless, like that needs to be better, right? Like that just that needs to be better. That's really all I can say. All right, well, so now we've pretty much come towards the end of this journey, right? Traveling to the US, what was that like, right? You got your visa, you got your admission, you know, you got all this stuff. Like now, like it's really just sinking in. Like, hey, you know, for me, I was just looking at it, I was like, wait, I'm leaving. Like it just, the thing just kept on doing me like this. Like I don't understand. Like I'm not going to sleep in this house again. Like it just, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that's like the sunshine after the rain. It's like the light at the end. I mean, it's mixed feelings because you're leaving friends and family behind. So at the airport, you know, there was some crying. My best friend came with me, you know, cried. My auntie came, you know, so it was emotional. And just being, you know, so you leave your family behind and you go on that long line, you know, to board, like to your boarding gate and all that stuff. So when they left, I was like, oh my God. So I started crying a little bit, but look, I'm an adventurer. This is why I think I'm an ambivert. I like to travel and go out. So when I cried a little bit, I was like, oh yeah, let's do this. So after that, you know, got to explore the airport. There was a lot of food involved, a lot of eating. The airlines kept feeding me right from even at the boarding gate. I think I traveled with Etihad. Shout out to Etihad, you should sponsor this video. You gave me a good experience. Yeah. So they kept feeding us just like intermittently, right? I was really full when I got to Chicago. We had a stopover in Turkey. Now my cousin, so I have family in the US, right? My cousin had drummed so many rules. Don't talk to people, don't get anyone's purse. If you talk to people, and I think he said I shouldn't talk to people, so if they pan out to be drug dealers, they won't arrest me, you know, because when they look at the camera, they'll be like, oh, she was talking to them. So I didn't want to talk to anyone, so I kind of was semi-mute, you know. I was like But when I was on the plane, there was this woman who was pregnant, and I mean, we sat together for hours, right? So I had to talk to her, and I think she was also one of the people who encouraged me. She was like, oh yeah, she's also an immigrant, so shout out to immigrants. We encourage each other so much. I love that. She was like, you'll be fine, I'm in Chicago, this, don't worry, you get a judge, you know. I can't remember now, but she said stuff. So flying was great, really good experience. Got to Chicago, that was great too. When we had our stopover in Turkey, it was just like long hours. What do I do, right? So I explored the airport. I met Africans at the airport too, but I can't remember what my cousin said. Actually, you do have to be careful, right? But I really didn't talk to a lot of people because I was like, oh, my cousin said they could be drug dealers. This is so ridiculous right now. They could be drug dealers. So there were some young guys, I think they were Ghanaian or no, they were speaking French. So somewhere in Africa, okay, the French speaking part of Africa. And you know, I think they had problems. They came to me and I was like, peace, yo. But they figured it out at the end of the day. Yeah. I was like, yo, I don't know. Go talk to the authorities. They will help you out, not me. But I explored the airport. Really beautiful. It's a good experience. Yeah. What else? Traveling. This is a good one. What to bring to the US? You know, people tell you leave all your clothes, leave everything. Things in the US are cheap. I left my shoes, I left my clothes. Look, I left all my jeans, like my nice jeans. I think maybe I brought one and I was like, I'm just gonna buy when I get to the US, right? If you have favorite jeans and you have space, this sounds like, why are we talking about this? But it's real. Immigrants talk about this when we get to the US. We miss our favorite clothes. Before you find those favorite clothes in the US, it's gonna take you a while, sis, bro. And it will be expensive. Yeah, the material, it's just different here. Right? I don't know. I have nicer clothing. Now I have to spend hours shopping to find the things I like. So bring the things you like. Bring things that are also going to spark joy for you. That's going to remind you of home and all of that stuff. If you can bring food, bring food. They scared me. They're like, don't bring food. They're going to stop you at the airport. They would arrest, all these things. So I didn't bring food. But if you can bring food, it's going to help your transition also when you start getting homesick. I've been there this year, especially where you crave things like yam or whatever it is. If you can bring it, bring it. I'm trying to remember other things. Yeah, keep your documents where you can access them easily, right? Because you don't want to be stuck somewhere. Because they would. Oh, this is a good one. When you get to the airport, stop. When you get to Chicago, wherever you're stopping, immigrants have their own line. Oh, sorry. It's not funny. I'm laughing as a coping mechanism. The citizens have their own line too. If you feel some kind of way, look, one day you get there, okay? Sorry. But you want to have your documentation with you. So, you don't look sketchy, or you're not trying to get into your purse or something. Have it with you. Be organized, present, be calm. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to stare at you like you've done something wrong, which is part of this whole people of color, black people problems, right? They treat us like we're criminals, but they're going to stare at you. But just be calm, be nice, be sweet. Think about good things, all the places you're going to visit when you get to the US. So when they're giving you that stare, just smile and be like, oh, I'm so happy to be here, that's going to help. What else? Yeah. So they'll ask you questions like, where are you going? Who are you going to? Whose house are you going to land? And all of that stuff. And be honest, like, I'm going to see my cousin, and that's cool. Don't say that's cool. I'm going to see my cousin or this person, and that's it. Answer the questions. Be calm. You've done nothing wrong. You have every right to be here. You've worked hard. So enjoy the process. Yeah. And enjoy the food on the flight too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, this video is not long enough to talk about like being black and being an immigrant or non-immigrant. Like it's just not long enough to detail all those experiences. But I really concur with what you said about, just thinking good thoughts and being calm through the entire process, because some of it will be nerve-wracking and there's nothing that you can do other than just be calm. So it will get better. It has to get better. I hope that in our lifetime we would see the world change to be a better place where we all come together from different continents and different places, and we don't perceive each other as threats or anything. Like, we just know that we're people, we're together in the world, and we make the world a better place together. So yeah, awesome. Well, I'm just kind of looking through my notes, and my next section, what are your travel advices, which you gave details of. So that has been just amazing. Right. So the last question is, right, you've been here for 5 years?
Yeah, 5 to 6 years, 2014 to 2020. So almost going 6 years.
Almost going 6 years. Wow. And you did a master's, you're in a PhD program. So the question is, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself, in the next couple of years or 5 years down the line? Like, how has your dream expanded? Like, where is Abbie headed?
Thank you. So, fun question. Someone made a joke today. Like, in 2015, if they asked you where you see yourself in 5 years, you would have said 2020, but you would not have expected COVID-19 to happen. So I think, of course, I'm in a PhD program. I want to be a professor, but like I tell people, I want to be a non-conventional professor. Like, I still want to be able to teach. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom, sharing knowledge. So I teach media studies. Let's just, umbrella, radio, TV, history, film, alternative media, all of that. That's my area. My research is on African American representation in film, documentary studies also. So media studies, it's just huge, right? So I love teaching, and I've spent time studying, and I'm still reading. So I wouldn't want to give that away, right? So I'm hoping to get a job in a university, but I want a university that's also innovative, and it's okay. I've spoken with my mentor, and he's like, just start, don't jump. But I really would appreciate an innovative environment, because I'm also interested in having a platform for creatives and entrepreneurs, for us to dialogue, for us to share opportunities. Like, Winie's saying, we're a community. When we help each other, we connect each other, and the process is just faster, trust me. So I'm super passionate about having an organization that does that. But right now I'm just starting that online, with podcasts, IG lives, making sure that creators stay connected, entrepreneurs have information about what you need, to move on to the next stage. So that's my plan. My plan is to get a job in the US, hopefully, to teach media, but still be able to have this relationship with creatives, right? Because this is where we're moving to. It's like, this is a new world 3.0. We're moving into that space where even if you're an academic, you have to be embedded in the everyday lived world, right? To be relevant to your classroom, to teach things that actually matter, to teach things that your students can actually take and use, right? And not just your students in class, right? You can bring your experiences to the everyday cultural space too. So that's the kind of academic that I want to be. So, CEO / professor / social change champion. Yeah. That's me. And I so it's having a global perspective, which I was talking to one of my professors today, who is also becoming a friend. That's where we're headed now, having a global perspective on whatever it is: media, creativity, entrepreneurship. Have I answered your question?
Yes, you have. And honestly, in fact, I'll keep saying how grateful I am that I met you, and I can't believe that I'm meeting, or I know this quality of human being just by chance of the internet and Instagram and things like that. And it's amazing to hear about your story and see where where you want to be. And oh my goodness, Abby, we are going to be friends.
We are.
We just are. It's just kind of what it is. I am going to be, a friend groupie, and just kind of I know her. And without people even asking me, I'm like, yep, I do know her. I know her very well. So I'm really excited for where you're going. And thank you for coming and hanging out with me today, and really sharing your experiences with the community. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, and I hope you all learned something from Abby. And this is an ongoing series, and Abby is our first guest, and she couldn't have been more amazing. So subscribe to Winie Student World and follow Abby. I'm going to put her IG handle on on the screen, and her YouTube channel. Seriously, if you like movies like me, you want to listen to her. And she also says she studied, I feel like I could have guessed that you were in communication and languages. The way you speak, I like how you pronounce all your words very carefully. People like me just kind of talk carelessly. I'm I say a bunch of things. I'm I hope you got half of it or something somewhere. So
no, you speak well too, and you have a vibe, a happy vibe that's infectious. Yes, no one can have an interview with you and just be boring. It's not possible. They have to match up that energy.
I appreciate you so much. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. If anyone has any further questions, you can reach me on Instagram, as Winie previously said. And yes, continue to follow Winie Student World. Awesome page. It's a great opportunity to be talking to you today and to be sharing my experience. All the best to international students out there, to everyone who is, doing their best to create the best of their lives. I wish you good luck. All my prayers are with you.